Hey BookTube, welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg. Today is a book haul day. It's kind of an eclectic, it's not really eclectic, it's all fiction. Um, Got a bunch of different genres here, but as you know, anytime I procure new books, I got to highlight them here on the channel. So yeah, this is from months ago, guys. um, this was at the start of book outlets. They had a big sale over the holidays, I think, or maybe into January. No, I think it went. I think it went even further. They went even further into February. Anyway, um, every now and then they'll have like a big $5.99 fiction sale, and it lasts for a long time. And boy, I loaded up on a variety of different titles. There's no rhyme or reason. They just tickled my fancy. So I picked them up and I thought I would go through them. Now, I've got a couple more boxes downstairs that are more recent from Book Outlet. And I was, up until the last moment of when that sale was going on, I'm just like, this is the cheapest I'm going to get some of these titles. So it's now or never. So I will be having a couple more book hauls from Book Outlet. But so this is number one. Okay, we're starting today. And happy Monday, by the way. Yeah, we got a long weekend with Memorial Day next week, so that's cool. Anyway, I thought, hey, it's 6:30 here. I'm ready to make a video, and then I'm off to have dinner and do some more reading and hang out with my lady, with Martine. We've been listening to a lot of Lady Gaga lately. Specifically, Martine has, and she's like, tell everybody to wait for our reaction video of one of her new songs on her new album. So, reaction videos are fun. But yeah, so I have duly made you aware that we might do a reaction video to Lady Gaga. Hey, we like to keep things interesting here at the History Shelf. We go way off course sometimes. Okay. Where should I begin? First of all, guys, it's been 11 days since my last video, which is rather long for me. But I have been hunkered down on some big deadlines and a lot of reading. Whew. So, yeah, been kind of busy. But, I like to share with you the books that I buy. And I love to hear your feedback. Where should I begin? Let's start with this one. This is a second book. I think it wasn't a trilogy. It was only meant to be 2 books. I have the first book, and I read it a couple years ago, and so I wanted to follow up with it. This is the sequel to a really immersive work of historical fiction that I loved. And the first book, I tried to grab it before I started filming, but it's not in this room, so it's in another room. So I just thought, you know what, I'll just tell you. The first book was called The Widow Queen, and this is its sequel, The Last Crown by Elżbieta Czereszynska. Correct. Okay. And translated by Maya Zakarzuska Pym. This is from Forge publisher. I took a sticker off, as you can see. Well, I don't know if I did or book outlet did, but that's the way it arrived. So The Last Crown. Let me go through this for you here. The web of love and lies is thicker than ever as we reunite with players spread across the board of Europe in this gripping sequel to The Widow Queen. Okay, while Olaf Tryggvason reclaims the throne of Norway and baptizes the land by blood, King Sven in Denmark is filled with rage at his once comrade. Not only does Olaf threaten Sven's hold on Norway, but also his hold on his own wife, the woman with 2 crowns, 3 sons, and a heart long spoken for. Oh, remind me how to pronounce her name again. It is, oh yes, Svetoslawa, the bold one. Meanwhile, those Svetoslawa trusts most, Astrid, her sister, Sigvald, her brother-in-law and head of the Jomsvikings, and even her own son, Olaf, take shocking, selfish actions with consequences that will reverberate for years to come. For the storm of unrequited love destroys all in its path. Yeah, so, and there is our author, Elżbieta Czerzinska, and there's the Widow Queen. That's the one I have. Yeah, a duology. That's what I wanted to call it. Yes, and these are her first books to be translated into English. So congratulations, Elżbieta. Anyway, pick this one up at Book Outlet. I gotta have the sequel. I want to see what's going on. Boom. So I was happy to get that for a really cheap price. What else we got here? Okay, World War II fiction. This looked really good. And for the price, I said, yes, please. This is The Long March Home, a World War II novel of the Pacific by Marcus Brotherton and Tosca Lee. This is put out by Rebel Publishing. Oh, when did this come out? This one came out in 2023. Okay, inspired by true stories, The Long March Home is a gripping coming-of-age tale of friendship, sacrifice, and the power of unrelenting hope. Jimmy Propfield joined the Army for 2 reasons: to get out of Mobile, Alabama, with his best friends Hank and Billy, and to forget his high school sweetheart Claire. Life in the Philippines seems like paradise until the morning of December 8th, 1941, when news comes from Manila. Imperial Japan has bombed Pearl Harbor. Within hours, the teenage friends are plunged into war as enemy warplanes attack Luzon, beginning a battle for control of the Pacific Theater that will culminate with a last stand on the Bataan Peninsula and end with the largest surrender of American troops in history. What follows will become known as one of the worst atrocities in modern warfare, the Bataan Death March. With no hope of rescue, the 3 friends vow to make it back home together. But the ordeal is only the beginning of their nearly 4-year fight to survive. So that's what drew me to this book, was the angle on the Bataan Death March, because I don't recall reading a lot of historical fiction, World War II fiction, that includes that as the backdrop. And if there are more novels like that out there, could any of you guys who know out there, could you drop it in the comments below and, educate me on that. But anyway, we've got The Long March Home, and I'm looking forward to that. So I picked it up for 5-6 bucks. Woo! All right. Oh, and here's an author I really enjoyed. This is the author of The Wharton Plots, that mystery that kind of fictionalizes Edith Wharton's role in solving a high society murder case or whatever. I really enjoyed it, reviewed it. So I was like, I like the way this lady writes, so let me check out her other stuff. This is The Lindbergh Nanny by Mariah Fredericks. And in fact, Martine got the audiobook of this after I was raving about the Wharton plot. And I think she really liked it. I think she finished it, but I know that she was liking it. So I wanted to get the book because I love reading the physical media, people. This is from Minotaur Books. The Lindbergh Nanny. So let me read to you a synopsis of this real quick. When the most famous toddler in America, Charles Lindbergh Jr., is kidnapped from his family home in New Jersey in 1932, the case makes international headlines. Already celebrated for his flight across the Atlantic, his father, Charles Sr., is the country's golden boy, with his wealthy, lovely wife, Anne Morrow Lindbergh, by his side. But there's someone else in their household. Betty Gow, a formerly obscure young woman now known around the world by another name, the Lindbergh Nanny. A Scottish immigrant deciphering the rules of her new homeland and its East Coast elite, Betty finds Colonel Lindbergh eccentric and often odd, Mrs. Lindbergh kind yet nervous, and Charlie simply a darling. Far from home and bruised from a love affair gone horribly wrong, Betty finds comfort in caring for the child and warms to the attentions of handsome sailor Henrik, sometimes known as Red. But then Charlie disappears. Suddenly a suspect in the eyes of both the media and the public, Betty must find the truth about what really happened that night in order to clear her own name and to find justice for the child she loves. Centered around the famous case. So I was intrigued by the premise and picked it up for a song at Book Outlet. Okay. And then this is another intriguing little novel. I love, one of the fun things about just browsing books, at Book Outlet or Hamilton Books, it's just the, that sense of treasure hunting. That's I just get a thrill. I try to really dig deep into the archives of, the inventory, as it were, and find things that normally you won't come across. And I think this is one of them. This is Burma Sahib by Paul Theroux. This is from Mariner Books. This novel came out. Just last year, so it's still new. Oh, look at that, The Road to Mandalay. All right, let me tell you what this is about. La 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 la. Okay, and I've never read this guy's other work, The Mosquito Coast, but this is his new thrilling novel exploring one of English literature's most beloved and controversial figures, George Orwell, and his early years as an officer in colonial Burma that transformed him from Eric Blair, the British Raj policeman, into Orwell, the anti-colonial writer. At age 19, young Eton graduate Eric Blair set sail for India, dreading the assignment ahead. Along with several other young conscripts, he would be trained for 3 years as a servant of the British Empire, overseeing the local policemen in Burma. Navigating the social, racial, and class politics of his fellow British at the same time as learning the local languages and struggling to control his men would prove difficult enough. But doing all of this while grappling with his own self-worth, his sense that he was not cut out for this, is soon overwhelming for the young Blair. Eventually, his clashes with his superiors and the drama that unfolds in this hot, beautiful land will change him forever. Okay. Yeah, I haven't read anything by Paul Theroux. Has anyone read anything by Paul Theroux? Apparently he's, and here's the author. All right. Yeah. He's written The Bad Angel Brothers, Under the Wave at Waimea, Motherland, and of course The Mosquito Coast. But anything about like Orwell kind of intrigues me. So even if it's just a historical fiction about him, I wanted to check it out. So Burma Sahib by Paul Theroux. Now, I don't know why I bought this book. I mean, I might get into it. I don't know. I think it was really marked down, like even less than $5.99. I think it was like $3.95. And this is Alec by William DeCanzio. This is a Farrar, Straus and Giroux hardcover. Came out in 2021. All right. So William DeCanzio's Alec, inspired by Maurice, and that's another novel, I think, presents the story of Alec Scudder, the gamekeeper with whom Maurice Hall falls in love in E.M. Forster's landmark novel. So I think that's what drew me in. It's kind of taken from Forster's work. Forster tried to write an epilogue showing the future of his characters, but was stymied by the fundamental changes in the world after the Great War. With the hindsight of a century, DeCanzio imagines a future for them, as well as a past for Alec, a young villager possessed of remarkable passion and self-knowledge, and follows their lives past the end of Maurice to the front lines of battle and beyond. Alec honors Forster's desire to shine light on what he called, quote, a great unrecorded history, end quote. DeCanzio's, it's his debut novel, is a love story of epic proportions, at once classic and boldly new. Now, I've never read Maurice by E.M. Forster, so, this is all going to be kind of new for me. But, yeah, so I picked that up for super cheap. It's got a nice, that's okay. Okay, we're moving along. Woo! How's everyone doing out there? Oh, I had a long weekend. Not a lot of rest. A lot of reading. A lot of writing. Okay, this book. Sometimes at Book Outlet you get really cool hardcover editions from like Everyman's Library or Penguin Classics or Vintage Classics. You get some really cool editions. So this is a very skinny hardcover that was super cheap, but I'm trying to remember. I was reading something that indicated that Joseph Roth would be a good author to read, and so I picked up this Rebellion by Joseph Roth. It's translated by Michael Hoffman and introduction by Carolyn Duttlinger. Now look how skinny. That is a very, very skinny book. But I was intrigued by the topic here. So, Joseph Roth's remarkable 1924 novel Rebellion offers up as its unlikely hero a one-legged street musician defying his fate in Vienna after the First World War. Andreas Puhm, having lost his leg in the war, is rewarded with a permit to support himself by playing a barrel organ in the streets. At first, the simple-minded veteran is entirely satisfied with his lot, and he even finds a widow to marry. But then a quarrel on a tram turns Andreas's life onto a rapid downward trajectory. As he loses first his beggar's permit, then his new wife, and even his freedom, he is finally provoked into rejecting his blind faith in the benevolence of the powers that govern his life. Years before Roth cemented his literary reputation with his panoramic saga, The Radetzky March, he produced this slim but unforgettable fable. Deploying the haunting atmosphere and propulsive power of a dream, Rebellion conveys the bewilderment of an ordinary man as his world falls apart around him. That is cheery stuff. Yeah, super slim volume, just about 115 pages or so. But I wanted to check it out. And I think I do have the Radetzky March in a folio edition. But these Everyman library editions are pretty cool. Let me get this. There we go. I'm going to get the microphone closer and get the keyboard out of the way. But yeah, I love these editions. And I have a few of the Everyman libraries, titles kind of scattered around the house. I think I've got a couple over behind me. But yeah, super cheap at Book Outlet, and I wanted to get it. Another book, this is a book I've read and I love. And I just wanted this edition looked really good. But then I realized once I got it, I'm like, oh, it's not as it's kind of cheaply printed. But it was a Vintage Classics, and I love the cover. So I picked up this edition of All Quiet on the Western Front by Eric Maria Remarque. And yeah, it's a little bit cheaply bound, more cheaply bound than I expected. But it says it's a Vintage Classics. And I really did like the cover. There's my neighbor. Hi, Stevie. So obviously, we all know about All Quiet on the Western Front. I'd like to do a reread, and I think that's why I picked up this version. Yeah. In 1914, a room full of German schoolboys, fresh-faced and idealistic, are goaded by their schoolmaster to troop off to the glorious war. With the fire and patriotism of youth, they sign up. What follows is the moving story of a young, unknown soldier experiencing the horror and disillusionment of life in the trenches. So, let's pick that up. All right, we're making good headway. Okay, oh yes. This is a book I've been meaning to get for probably 6 or 7 years now, because I'm going to say I fell in love with it, but I was really intrigued by this man's this novel, and I wrote a review of it. What is it called? Lord of All the Dead. It was really good, and it was about the Spanish Civil War. But this is Javier Cercas. This is Soldiers of Salamis. All right. This is another vintage book. All right. Yep. In the waning days of the Spanish Civil War, an unknown militiaman discovered a nationalist prisoner who had fled a firing squad and taken refuge in the forest. But instead of killing him, the soldiers simply turned and walked away. The prisoner, Rafael Sanchez Mazas, writer, fascist, and founder of the Spanish Falange, went on to become a national hero and ultimately a minister in Franco's first government. The soldier disappeared into history. 60 years later, Javier Cercas, or at least a character who shares his name, sifts through the evidence to establish what really happened that day. Who was the soldier? Why didn't he shoot? And who was the true hero in the story? Every answer yields another question in this modern classic, a powerful and elegantly constructed novel about truth, memory, and war, and a searing exploration of the unknowability of history. So, yeah. Lord of All the Dead, I can highly recommend. And I also picked up his, I think it's another work of fiction, or was it nonfiction? But it's called The Imposter. A lot of these titles have overlapping themes. Yeah, I have The Imposter and Lord of All the Dead. So, but yeah, Soldier of Salamis was the next one in line of his titles. That was really, I just thought I should finish, read this one in addition to the other one I read, and then Imposter. And it's going to be a nice kind of like full-rounded view of like Spanish Civil War as written about through fiction, but yet there's a little bit of autobiography going on. You don't know, is this his story? Is he including references to his experiences, or is this completely fictionalized? It's kind of like the whole Tim O'Brien, All the Things They Carried deal that had thrown me for a loop when I first read it. So yeah, I wanted to pick up Soldier of Salamis by Javier Cercas. All right. Wow, I will not have a 55-minute video this time, guys. Isn't that amazing? Okay. Next book I picked up of this book outlet book haul is Kent Anderson. I don't think I've ever read anything by Kent Anderson. And this is Sympathy for the Devil. Now it says a Mulholland classic. Don't know what that is, but well, that's the publishing house name, Mulholland Books. Sympathy for the Devil by Kent Anderson. This is what intrigued me about it. Okay, Hansen joins the Green Berets fresh out of college. Carrying a volume of Yeats's poems in his uniform pocket, he has no idea of what he's about to face in Vietnam. From the enemy, from his fellow soldiers, or within himself. In vivid, nightmarish, and finely etched prose, Kent Anderson takes us through Hansen's 2 tours of duty and a bitter, ill-fated return to civilian life in between, capturing the day-to-day process of war like no writer before or since. And, if you've watched this channel fairly regularly and have stuck with me over the years, you know that I really enjoy well-written, well-structured novels about the soldiers' experience in Vietnam. Of course, Tim O'Brien's up there. Memoir of Vietnam is big for me. My friend Colonel Keith Nightingale, his book, Just Another Day in Vietnam, which I reviewed, and I have a book review in my playlist for that one. But yeah, my interest in Vietnam really kind of surged, I would say, in my 40s. Oh, yeah, why am I including my age in here? I guess what I'm trying to say is that, when I started getting into history in my late teens, early teens, and then, started reading more and more, it was mostly like American Civil War, and I wasn't even hugely into World War II at that time. And the war that was of least interest to me when I was starting out in my reading was Vietnam. But that has really undergone a sea change in the last decade or two. Because you know what? It's just, that war has so much to say about where we're at now. And how it just kind of, American foreign policy just kind of cracked and broke on that, and also just everyone considers it, the one war we didn't win and all that kind of stuff. But I just have seeing movies and documentaries and everything else, you got to feel for those guys and the female nurses that were over there. It's just a brutal war, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Was it winnable? Was it not? People say it wasn't. There's new fairly new research that has indicated that especially with the Tet Offensive, that it was more of a media and the home front saying, no, we don't want to be there. Everyone just did not want to take it to its conclusion and to try to beat the communists in the North. And the fall of Saigon is just heartbreaking, because they just overran it and the communists won. So, but anyway, I just love reading the perspective of someone who was there. And it says here, Kent Anderson served with the U.S. Special Forces in Vietnam. So, yeah. He knows of what he speaks. He's got a couple of other books, too, that, I don't know if they might be more like police stuff, because it says here he has served as, he was a police officer in Portland, Oregon at one point. But anyway, I wanted to read Sympathy for the Devil and see how that compares to some of the other novels I read about Vietnam. All right, and then we have a classic, and it was hardcover, and I'm like, oh, this looks like a really nice edition. The Book Outlet had it for a song. The publisher here is, what is this publisher called? Union Square and Company, and they have these hardcover editions called the Signature Classics, which are, it says here, the Signature Classics series offers readers great works of literature in affordable, beautifully designed editions. Okay. Each book features an authoritative text chosen from respected sources. Okay. Well, Union Square and Company was offering this one by Upton Sinclair, and it is called, it's Oil! Exclamation point. Oil! Look at that. It's a nice hardcover, very, very sturdy. Now, I read The Jungle by Upton Sinclair when I was, knee-high to a, whatever. I was probably 17 or something when I read it. I was thoroughly grossed out by it. But it still stuck with me. It was some of the scenes in there were so just grim that it just kind of just painted themselves into my brain. With the meatpacking industry and the slaughterhouses and all that stuff. It was horrible. All right, so what is Oil about? Let's take a look. A scathing anti-capitalist critique of fossil fuel energy. Upton Sinclair's Oil is a gripping tale of corruption and greed based upon the oil scandals of the Harding administration. Okay. I did not know this, you guys. Listen to this. Oil. This book. The inspiration for Paul Thomas Anderson's film There Will Be Blood follows oil tycoon James Arnold Ross and his son, James Bunny Arnold Ross Jr., as James accrues wealth and power. Shit. Oh, sorry. I did not know that. I did not know that There Will Be Blood was based on... Oh, this is fantastic. Okay. While James and Bunny drive through Southern California, we see the wealthy, powerful, canny James at work, bribing politicians, negotiating, and teaching Bunny how the world works. But when Bunny befriends Paul Watkins, an older boy whose family struggles to make ends meet, and whose family farm lies on land rich in oil, Bunny begins to question his father's business practices. Torn between loyalty to his father and his attachment to the Watkins family, Bunny must decide what really matters to him and what kind of life he truly wants to live. Told over the course of the Gilded Age, World War I, and the post-war years in the U.S., oil is a Dickensian portrait of a country so rich in resources and manpower that it becomes its own greatest enemy. Wow. All right, guys. Woo, and it's a pretty big book. I mean, it's kind of like in this shorter style, so, you know, it's probably why it's a higher page count. About 580 pages. But now that I know that There Will Be Blood is like was inspired by this, I've got to get into it. I've got to get into it. Yeah, I was pleased to see this on Book Outlet for so cheap. Save the best for last. These books are what should I call these novels? I mean, I'll read them and then I will be moving them on to donating them or whatever. I don't know why I have to do this. It's a morbid fascination. And I can guarantee you, after reading these, I'm not going to want to fly again ever. But I've been hearing kind of good things about this author. So I bought 3 books by T.J. Newman. And what am I referencing here? Falling. Ugh. Jaws at 35,000 feet. Wow. Am I ready for this? This is put out by Avid Reader Press. Wow, the book just cracked when I opened it. Don't need to say much here. This is your jacket. Check this out. You just boarded a flight to New York. There are 143 other passengers on board. What you don't know is that 30 minutes before the flight, your pilot's family was kidnapped. For his family to live, everyone on your plane must die. Oh my God. The only way the family will survive is if the pilot follows his orders and crashes the plane. And at the end it says, enjoy the flight. Yeah, this is just going to be like a barn burner. You could probably finish this in a day. You know, I just wanted a really good zippy action read that kind of gets my blood pumping. So I want to check out Falling. Well, she's written 2 other similar books. I guess she just writes air disaster stories. The second one is called, and this sticker is not mine. This was from Book Buy, but anyway, or Book Outlet. This is Drowning, the Rescue of Flight 1421. I think they were making this into a movie, or they already did. It might be on one of those streaming services. So, okay, so now you got the plane in the ocean. This is like a double whammy for me. I know I've said it before on this channel, but like 2 of my biggest fears or nightmares is crashing in an airplane or being eaten by a shark. And then you got both. No, okay. Let's take a look. See, okay. I mean, look at this inside jacket cover. Isn't that terrifying? Imagine looking out your window in the airplane and seeing that. All right. So we have a little bit more of a description for this one. And here's a little bit more about T.J. Newman. She was a flight attendant, guys. Flight attendant turned best-selling author T.J. Newman returns with an edge-of-your-seat thriller about a commercial jetliner that crashes into the ocean and sinks to the bottom with passengers trapped inside, and the extraordinary rescue operation to save them. 6 minutes after takeoff, Flight 1421 crashes into the Pacific Ocean. During the evacuation, an engine explodes and the plane is flooded. Those still alive are forced to close the doors, but it's too late. The plane sinks to the bottom with 12 passengers trapped inside. More than 200 feet below the surface, engineer Will Kent and his 11-year-old daughter Shannon are waist-deep in water and fighting for their lives. Their only chance at survival is an elite rescue team on the surface, led by professional diver Chris Kent. Shannon's mother and Will's soon-to-be ex-wife, who must work together with Will to find a way to save their daughter and rescue the passengers from the sealed airplane, which is now teetering. It gets worse. Which is now teetering on the edge of an undersea cliff. There's not much time, and there's even less air. With devastating emotional power and heart-stopping suspense, Drowning is an unforgettable thriller about a family's desperate fight to save themselves and the people trapped with them against impossible odds. So yeah, I was just like, if I'm going to do one, I'm going to do all of them. But there's one more. So her most recent one in the, similar series, I guess, are these. Does she have any return characters? I don't think so. She just has like brand new plot each time. And here's our author. Look at TJ Newman. She's like, would you like pretzels? Would you? Sorry. Okay. All right. This one came out, I think, just last year. Let me see here. And this is our final book for this A Little Book Haul video on a Monday. Yeah, came out in 2024. And then you have Worst Case Scenario. And that does look like a worst case scenario, does it not? Oh my gosh. Okay. When a pilot suffers a heart attack at 35,000 feet, a commercial airliner filled with passengers crashes into a nuclear power plant in the small town of Wakita, Minnesota, which becomes ground zero for a catastrophic national crisis with global implications. The International Nuclear Event Scale tracks nuclear disasters. It has 7 levels. Level 7 is a major accident, with only 2 on record, Fukushima and Chernobyl. There has never been a level 8. You know what I'm going to say next. Until now. In this heart-stopping thriller, ordinary people, power plant employees, firefighters, teachers, families, neighbors, and friends are thrust into an extraordinary situation as they face the ultimate test of their lives. It will take the combined courage, ingenuity, and determination of a brave few to save not just their community, but the world. So, all right, so there's she's expanding her scope here a little bit. So not only are planes crashing, and then crashing into the water at the bottom of the ocean, or 200 feet below, now they are flying into nuclear power plants. So yeah, this was my little guilty pleasure. When I saw that these books were marked down, I'm like, let me check out TJ Newman and see what's what with her. Well, what do you guys think? What do you think of this little mishmash that I accrued here? Anything of interest to you guys out there? Goldie is in this bed over here. That's why there's a blanket. She's sleeping underneath there. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. Guys, I've got more things to film. I hope to have time to get at least another video out this week. I've got four deadlines that I'll be working on in the evening. So this was probably my best time to make a video was today. But I will try to get back to you sometime later this week. Wish me luck. But anyway, I just want to check in with all of you. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know if anything here, floats your boat. Float your plane, whatever. And until next time, guys, can't speak. Hope you're doing well. Take care out there. I'll see you soon back at the History Shelf. Bye-bye.